Welcome back to the Snap Count on Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Trey Essex, and this is your quarterback in mind, Mr. Charlie Batch. How are you doing in this holiday week, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, man? I'm getting excited about Thanksgiving. We're getting ready to host. I think right now we are at 65 people
Jesus.
that have RSVP. So we're gonna have a house full at the batches.
How many turkeys is that? That's like 4 turkeys?
Generally, it's 2 26-pound turkeys that we have.
26-pound turkeys? How do you cook a 26-pound turkey?
There's actually a farm that's around Acrisure farm that is next to us and about 5 minutes away from the house. But you actually get the fresh turkey, so they're never frozen, and you're able to get the bigger pounds of the turkey. So we learned about it about 10 years ago, and we just kind of kept that up, and it really cuts the cooking time in half because the turkeys are never frozen.
So do you have a particular way that you like to make your turkey? I just got into fried turkey like 3 years ago, and now I'm hooked. Before we had roasted, we had baked, but now I deep fry it, and I don't know if I can go back to anything else, man. Do you have a preference?
I don't, to be honest with you, no. I mean, if baked is fine, as long as it's just not dry. So we'll have 2 26-pounders. We do have one fried turkey that we'll have, and then we do have a ham. So that's all of our meat selections. But I'm more of just a general guy. I don't go overboard with the turkey. I eat it once, and that's pretty much it.
Oh man, look,
I know you on the other hand.
Look,
yeah,
man,
you on the other hand. I know you got it. You got to tell the audience how you like your turkey because you have been hooked on it since you started making it this certain way. Explain, please.
Zatarain's is this seasoning company. They have a whole bunch of seasoning, but they do this Creole butter that you inject into the turkey. Ours is only about 16 pounds. We're not hosting a whole bunch today or this Thanksgiving, but there's this Creole butter you got to inject into the turkey, and it just makes it so juicy, and you get that nice little Cajun flavor in it, and you can eat it for like 2 or 3 days. The reason I knew it was going to be a hit, when my daughter, who doesn't like anything, that's all she wants for Thanksgiving is daddy's fried turkey. Hey, I know I did something right. But enough about turkey, man. Let's talk about this game, brother. I know the show's a day late. I was sick, a little under the weather yesterday. I don't know if it was because the weather down here or if it was the way the Steelers played that made me sick. I can't tell you because I was feeling some type of way after that game, all in my feelings, but I'm glad we took a day. I think this actually helped me come to grips a little bit with the things that happened in that game. We got so much to discuss, so many things that happened in that game. And now our season is it's kind of in jeopardy, right? There is some panic level. I remember a couple of weeks I asked you, where were you at on the DEFCON scale? You said 2.5. If we're going 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, you're at a 2.5. Right now, before we delve into the Steel City headlines, overall, where is your DEFCON level at this point, CB?
Right now, I moved up a notch. I'm at 3.5 right now.
Yeah,
and it is tough. And right now, you are what your record are. They were one game over 500 essentially, and that's ultimately how they're playing. And you can't do anything outside of that. You are 6-5 at this particular point.
We are 6-5, man, and we're headed towards what we headed the last few years and speeding towards mediocrity once again. But we'll get more into the Steel City headlines after this break. Steel City headlines are brought to you by Fairway Chevrolet GMC. Whether you're in the market for a truck that's heavy duty, built for work, or a real head turner, Fairway Chevrolet GMC has you covered. With clear upfront pricing, unmatched inventory, and a team that works to earn your business, Fairway Chevrolet GMC is the place to go. Trucks, SUVs, great pricing, no nonsense. That's the fair way. All right, Bears 31, Steelers 28. Fourth time this defense, Charlie, has given up 30-plus points this year. This is not something, and we're so far removed, I guess, when we played, but it still feels like such a disappointment to be in this state as a defense for the Steelers, right? We're used to dominating defenses. We're used to imposing our will on folks, and that just doesn't seem to be happening consistently enough. I thought it was very telling when Peyton Wilson came at the end of the game and says, some plays we're the best defense in the NFL, and some plays we're not. It sounds simple, but it's very succinct and hits the nail right on the head as to what this defense is. In that game, it was like the perfect example of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We had these great plays by TJ Watt, second a guy in the end zone, causing a fumble, Nick Herbert picking it up for a touchdown. And then we had these huge voids later on in the game where guys just seem to be running wide open. Charlie, I can't get a hold on it. And it seems like the players themselves are frustrated and kind of confused because they don't understand it either. I mean, can you go? Is there a reason why you think it is the way it is? Like, is it a scheme thing or is it a player thing? I know it's always a combination of both, but if you had to say which one is probably affecting this defense the most, the talent level or the actual schemes that we're employing when we're on the field, which one takes the cake as far as the blame at this point?
I would think the scheme, because regardless if you're playing whatever scheme you're playing, you all have to be on the same accord.
Mm-hmm.
Communication has to be there, making sure that everybody is running the same defense. Right now, we're at week 11, and you're still having these issues that are happening. So, are these guys going home and getting in the playbook, doing that extra film work? I don't. It's hard to say if they are or not, because you're seeing guys running open. You're seeing guys not playing the same defense. And when you hear just the comments that come out of the locker room immediately after the game, these guys are frustrated because it doesn't seem like they can all get on the same accord. They truly believe that they have the pieces in there, but something is missing at this particular point. But that's the job of an offense. The job of an offense is to confuse the defense, shift, motion, because it's essentially three calls that you have to make. One, you line up. Two, when you shift, and then the motion happens. And when you have communication issues happening three times on that side of the ball, all you're asking for is one person to hesitate and make a mistake, so offensively you could take advantage of that. That's what teams are doing with this defense right now. And when you see guys running open, that's the direct reason. So those guys have to do better at home. It's one thing to do it in the building, but they have to do better at home, studying and making sure that they are one step ahead of that offense. So right now, it doesn't seem like that's where they're at.
If you're on the opposing team facing this defense, and I know a big play that happened when they went four verts and we stayed in cover three, which is obviously the perfect play to beat. And it looked like we didn't know how to adjust. Like we couldn't audible out of it. Are we really that stringent, that stiff, that one way of thinking type of defense where we can't adjust on the fly? It seems like everything is happening very robotically, right? Everybody is like, I am here. This is my zone. I can't do anything else. I can't be a football player. Everybody looks like they're so enamored with where they're supposed to be on the field and not actually playing football. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and when you do that, and especially at this point of the season when everything's starting to tighten up a little bit because you're running out of chances as these games in the regular season are coming to an end, right now, overcoaching can sometimes happen when you have these guys thinking too much. Hey, this is the perfect defense. This is here, versus just calling a defense and letting these guys go out there and make plays and have fun. And I think they're too worried right now of making a mistake versus just letting their actions take place on the field.
Right. When you see these tackle numbers, once again, you expect your inside linebackers to lead you in tackling. When your free safety is the leading tackler on the team, that means that's not a good sign for a defense, right? Jalen Ramsey had 9 tackles, and the next closest person had 6, and he was Kyle Duggar, the other safety. When your 2 safeties are leading the defense in tackles, that means the ball is getting behind the front 7, right? And our linebackers aren't. Patrick Queen, another person who said something and almost directly pointed at the coach. He is saying the position that he is being put in on some of these passing downs is very hard. He didn't go as far as to directly point and call out Coach Austin, but he said the position that he in is making his job difficult. That's tough to hear.
It is. And that was, when you hear that immediately after the game, you're not even 24 hours, in some cases less than 48 hours from that game. And when the sound bites are coming in, and they still feel that way. So again, there's issues that are continuing to happen right now. And that's, I just mentioned about the communication. These are things that is not just this week. It's been happening since the season has started. And we've used excuses. Maybe the pieces weren't there. They needed to solidify some things. But ultimately, when you're seeing it continue to happen, that means there's more going on.
Right. Now, I don't want to harp too. There wasn't a complete horrible. Yes, we gave up 31 points Ultimately, we lost. But it wasn't just a total bad performance. There were big plays being made. And it was, again, and we'll talk about the offense here soon, they could not get on the same page. Like when the defense was balling, the offense stalled. When the offense was balling, the defense came back and still gave up points after we would score. So there was a crucial moment in there in the second quarter, I believe, where we're up or we're tied 7-7 and TJ makes that play in the end zone, right? And then we are up 14-7 and they come back on the next drive and get a fumble recovery. And what does our offense do? We stall, right? And the Chicago is eventually able to score another touchdown, kick a field goal to keep the game close at halftime. And then the third quarter, my goodness, our third quarters have just been horrible this year on both sides of the ball. And once again, and I will give Arthur credit. We ran the ball. He tried to run the ball, and we were very effective running the ball to the tune of 180 plus yards. I thought the offensive line played outstanding. But there was a point in time there where our defense gave us an opportunity to win the game, and the offense did not take advantage. And also in the fourth quarter, yeah, they gave up an opening quarter touchdown. But when we were down 31-28, 2 times the defense went 3 and out against the Bears to give us an opportunity to drive downfield. And all we need to do, what do we need to get to for Chris Boswell, right? The 40-yard line, that's about a 57-yard kick or whatever, and our offense stalled. So I'm not going to just put this on the defense because it's not. That's the big story this week in Steeler Nation all around is why we giving up 31 points, why are we giving up these huge chunk plays, and it's the way we look when we're going down there, right? These guys are running wide open. It's not like it points directly to the scheme, and we're harping on it, we're talking about it, but they did have some big players, right, Charlie? They did give us an opportunity to win the game in some instances, but that goes to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. Like they were great some plays and not even solid, but horrible on other plays.
But everything that you're saying explains right to the point on why defensively they're ranked 28th and at the bottom of the league when you have when these things are occurring, when guys are running open. So I think these are things that ultimately you become frustrated with, but when you don't see it changing, that's the part where you're just kind of throwing up your hands and saying, okay, what's going on? Or former players that are now criticizing a team and they don't necessarily want to do it, but that's our job in the media is to criticize what we see on the field. It's not that we don't want these guys to win. It's the fact that we have a job to analyze. And when we go back and we're seeing certain things, those type of things that we're trying to, just speak about freely as it relates to what's going on. And hopefully these things can be corrected.
Right. It's tough, man. Like you said, we don't want to feel the way and talk the way we do. We saw when Silverback and Joe, they're mad too. Everybody, we are, and the reason why we're mad is because we're still vested in this team, right? We still love our Steelers and we still want them to do well. We want everybody to ball out, just like the rest of Steeler Nation. But it's even more tough for us because we know what greatness looks like in that building, and we know what a Coach Tomlin-led team can be capable of. It's just it hasn't been on there. It hasn't been happening consistently enough. And when you see it in spurts, it kind of makes it more frustrating, right? Like if you were consistently bad, it'd be one thing. But to be great versus the Colts, to be great versus the Bengals, and then lay eggs versus the Chargers and the Bears defensively, it's just tough. But like I said, the defense is not the only problem. Offense put up 21 points because the defense scored once. Offense did well. We drove the ball, we ran the ball, but it's still some things and some crucial mistakes made at the wrong absolute time that makes it not only a defensive problem, but we still have problems on offense, and we'll get to that on the other side of this break.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
CB, when you look at this game offensively, when you look at the numbers, we ran more plays for the first time all year long. We won time of possession, 33-26 or 27, the most lopsided that we've had in time of possession. We outgained him 345-328. Same amount of turnovers, right? Less penalties. When you just look at the box score, and that's why numbers lie. When you look at the box score offensively, it looks like we did enough to win this game, but we left so many plays out there. Despite the fact, and I want you to dig into this. When we talk about our scheme and the fact that we just leave the middle of the field open, like we don't utilize the middle of the field as much as other teams in the NFL. But specifically, I want you to talk about Mason Rudolph. Coming into this week, we had confidence in Mason. I still don't lack confidence in him. I thought he did what he needed to do for a backup quarterback coming into that role, not knowing if he's going to start until this weekend. But evaluate his performance on this past Sunday. Do you think he did enough?
He did enough because he had him in a 2-minute drill with the potential opportunity to tie or win the game. And I think ultimately where you are, watching him over the court, and when you turn the football over twice, that is on you. So that's why I will give him that C+ kind of C+ B- in the grade, only because of that reason, because regardless of how it happens, the pick, second play of the game, yes, he left it short. Great play by the Chicago defender. Then when all of a sudden you get sacked, but yet you're supposed to hold on to the ball, I don't necessarily give 100% of the credit to Mason because Darnell Washington was extremely late getting off the ball. He got beat. That caused the sack. But again, you have to do everything in your power to hold on to that football. I know it's a tough task to ask, but again, that when the ball's in your hand, you can't put it on the ground. And even though you want to blame Darnell, ultimately you got to hold on to that ball. And I think the third piece is the fact that in that 2-minute drill, the one time that happened when you're now getting near, this was a Mason Rudolph scramble. They broke the huddle. They lined up wrong. He tried to correct them, but then Kenneth Gainwell lined up on the right-hand side, should have been on the line. That left Troy uncovered. Mason runs for a 22-yard gain. That's called back. Who knows what happens after that, because they would be in field goal range. That could potentially tie the game and maybe, keep the drive going. He scores on that drive. We don't know what happens in that particular situation. It's just the fact of those three things as a quarterback. You have to own that responsibility, even when those things totally aren't your fault. When everything's not, you have to own up to that. That's why I give him essentially a B- in this game. Now, as watching it, there were some throws that, he knows he would like to have back. Into the game, Roman Wilson has him down the field, breaking open. He throws it out of bounds. You have to give Roman a chance in that case. And if he makes that, maybe we're not sitting here talking about, do we have a number 2 receiver because he made the play when it mattered, when the game was on the line. And then it was a couple crossing routes that I thought that he could have Mason could have potentially threw that he turned down. And again, that's just going through your progression. So I think this is going to be something that he can learn from if he gets that opportunity this week. But if he doesn't, this is going to be one that he's still going to scratch his head if this is the only playing time that he gets this year.
It's tough, man. Yeah, there were some throws that first one, it made me mad, that very first pick he threw, not because of the throw. It was a bad throw. He underthrew it. You got to give DK a chance to throw that. You got to put some air under there at least, give him time to adjust to it, or just throw it to only where he can go on those one. But I didn't like the play call. We got 8-9 yards on the very first play of the game. Let's establish the run game. Let's be more physical. I'm nitpicking right there because it was a turnover and it was early in the game, and I just didn't understand throwing a low percentage ball second play on offense when you just gutted them up the middle, right? So that's my little issue with that. Now, Roman Wilson, let me talk about him for a little bit. He gets open. From what I've seen, there were like 4 or 5 routes where I thought he ran his route really well and he got open. I think we have a number 2 in the building, Charlie. I think we do. I just don't know if we know how to utilize our receivers in a way. And this points to Arthur Smith. I don't know if it's more Arthur Smith or more Coach Tomlin, because Arthur's time in Tennessee, the offenses were very similar. He had A.J. Brown and then Derrick Henry, and that's it. He didn't really have a number 2 there that he would use on a consistent basis. Same thing in Atlanta, right? Didn't know how to use Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, he didn't get the most out of him either. And we're seeing the same thing. But historically, for the last 4, 5, 6 years, we haven't been competent in the pass game to the point where we can deploy a number 2 consistently enough and be a threat. Why do you think that is?
Well, before this game, we had a problem with the total plays that they were running per game, and they were typically, it was +10 or +11 in favor of the opposing team. In this case, they ran 8 more plays more than what Chicago did. So, you want those opportunities, but I just don't know the flow of the game, how everything is going. And that's Arthur's job. Get your guys, more and more involved. And that's why you're seeing kind of the gamut of the rotations. And sometimes it doesn't make sense when you look to say, okay, why isn't Jalen Warren on the field in fourth quarter when the game is on the line? I have all the confidence in the world in Kenneth Gainwell, but again, Jalen is your best running back. He needs to be on the field in crunch time. So again, it's just a lot of things that are happening in that particular manner. But to your point with Roman Wilson, yes, he's been getting open, but for whatever reason, they're not throwing his direction. Now, I don't know if that's a 1 high, 2 high type of man beater, and maybe he's getting open. If it's 1 high, you're supposed to throw to the right, and he's getting open to the left. But again, that's not part of the read. Typically, when it's all even coverage-wise, you have one-on-one on the outside, you're going to pick, your guy. And most of the time, if DK's one-on-one versus Roman one-on-one, chances are they're going to throw DK's way because he is wide receiver number 1.
Despite the fact that we don't bother threatening the middle of the field, this offense was very efficient. 8 of 14 on third down, had 22 first downs to their 19, 5 yards per play. We were driving the ball whenever we had the opportunity. And then we would get like a silly penalty, like the illegal formation with Kenneth Gainwell, because you saw Calvin Austin actually point to Kenneth Gainwell as he was motioning over after Mason told him to get back to the right side of the line of scrimmage. And that's what makes the difference between a good offense and a great offense. Now, we're number 10 in scoring, so we're putting points on the board, and we're making sure we get the opportunities to put points on the board. But it's the in-between that we haven't found any consistency with. But I will say this, Charlie, the O-line played great, dude. O-line, that was their best game of the year. And this comes on the heels of having a really good game last week versus Cincinnati. Broderick Jones played great. The whole O-line played great. And it's a shame to me that the unit that we all had the questions about coming into this season, right? The unit that had the most youth, the unit that had the most inexperience has now become the most consistent unit on this team. And that's a good thing, don't get me wrong, but it's a surprising thing. These guys are maturing very well. Got to give Pat Meyer all the credit in the world. But when you look at them and you see everybody else, we got veterans on the defensive line. We got veterans at the second level, the linebacker position. We got all the veterans in the world in the secondary. And then we got people with experience even on the offensive side of the ball. And our offensive line, the youngest one outside of Isaac Siamalu, are all first and second year guys. And they are playing their butts off. But they're playing to a level that's higher than every other position group on this team.
Yeah, that's one group that definitely got better since week 1 of the season. And we've talked about this in depth. I like where they're at. And that's where I thought eventually they would take advantage of maybe those linebacker group, especially with those guys that were not playing for the Bears. Yes, we saw it impact in the running game because, they ended up having, 186 yards rushing total. And 55 of those came on essentially a gadget play. Gainwell has that yardage, but
that was a pretty cool play.
It was a really good play. It really was a gadget play. Those are what the numbers are, but you still have 131 yards of total of rushing in this particular game. So they're getting better. I wanted to see them utilize that weekend linebacker position in the passing game. That's where I wanted to see those tight ends get involved. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But those guys, credit to the Bears, they played lights out, those linebackers. Nobody gave them credit. And when you look at what those guys did, they had, between those inside linebackers, they had 29 tackles apiece. I'm sorry, combined, not apiece. 29 combined versus the Steelers inside linebackers with only 10 tackles. So that's how much they outperform the Steelers linebacker group, but yet the Steelers were able to take advantage of it in the running game, just not in the passing game.
Yeah, we were talking about how, especially with those linebackers being out, our bet that we made this past Friday with Pat Freiermuth, we thought it was straight up disrespectful that the over-under was, 13 and a half yards? Now, granted, he did get the over like we said he would get, but for him, you think this would have been a game tailor-made for him with the inexperience at linebacker, with actually Mason and Pat have a pretty good relation. Whenever Mason plays, Pat usually gets a healthy chunk of targets. Now, he only had 3 catches on 3 targets, and the 2 catches he had were in the middle of 2 of the 3 he had were in the middle of the field, 1 for a touchdown, 1 for a big first down later in the game. So it's there. The middle of the field is there. We just aren't using it. And I don't know if it's more a Tomlin thing, because when you look at the passing charts from quarterbacks before Arthur Smith was here, when Randy Fichtner was here, when Matt Canada, they look very similar no matter who the quarterback is.
And you hit it right on the head there. The passing charts look exactly the same, and regardless of the coordinator. So ultimately, that has to fall on Tomlin, because you can't say it's a coordinator type of issue when these things are happening regardless of the coordinator. So I know Tomlin always talks about, depending on who's in the middle of the field, will determine whether we utilize it or we don't and stay away from it. And obviously, it's apparent that he must have thought that the safety tandem of the Bears was an issue, and that's why they didn't throw in the middle of the field. That's the only thing that's the only answer that I can come up with.
We got to pick at straws right here, man, because we just don't know. But the one constant is Tomlin, and he just wants to, I guess, mitigate the mistakes that happen. Granted, most interceptions that happen are through tip balls and stuff over the middle of the field, but can't live in our fears, right? You got to attack the middle of the field, or you got to use the entire field to your disposal and not just eliminate it from the pitcher. But like I mentioned before, the O-line balled out, and I want to show you how much they balled out, Charlie. I'm excited to talk about this trench report because these guys got after it, and we'll do that on the other side of this break. The Trench Report is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows. Right now at Smart Choice Windows, you can get 50% off all windows during our limited time promotion. Plus, take advantage of their special financing with no money down and no interest until 2027. Looking to upgrade your whole exterior? Smart Choice Windows is also offering $1,500 off siding for your entire home and $500 off entry door insulation to boost your curb appeal. And remember that every project starts with a free, no pressure estimate. So give them a call at 844-GET-SMART or visit smartchoicewindows.com and make sure to ask about the Big Play bonus to get an additional 10% off all promotions. The biggest positive that came out of this game, Charlie, was the boys in the trenches. This trench report was the best trench report I've had the honor of grading this year. All the boys balled out, not just one, not just two, not just three, balled out all over. And even when, and hopefully Broderick gets healthy here. Not sure to the extent of his injury. We just found out in the presser that him and Derek Harmon are already being ruled out for this week. But Broderick had his best game of the year, and it's a shame. I hope it doesn't affect him that much, this injury. I hope he can overcome it, and it's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. But I'm excited to report that everybody, Charlie, everybody got over a 90 this week, man. Starting with Troy Fontana, man. This kid keeps on getting better. You know, he had some ebb and flow. This is essentially his rookie year, but he is on a streak right now, right? These last few games, he's just been balling, getting 89% or better, with the exception of week 10, which was just, and I think, an anomaly. And I was right when I said then that I think this will be just a blip on the radar. This kid is going to be a Pro Bowler. There's no doubt in my mind. He is that good. And I honestly don't think he's the only one on this team that's capable of being in the Pro Bowl. Like I said, his O-line as a whole, 186 yards rushing. They did not give up a sack as an O-line, even though you can count Darnell Washington as an extra O-lineman, and he was the one that the 2 sacks were attributed to, and we just talked about that during the break. The first one wasn't necessarily his fault. Mason, it was more of a cover sack. Mason had to step up. The second one definitely was his fault, but football players need to start being football players, and there's, at some point, you got to understand, if a D end sees that he's being single blocked with the tight end, no matter if it is Darnell Washington, Mountain Washington, he's probably the best one suited to do it. Doesn't mean that he should twice in the same game on long play action passes. You know what I'm saying? And so, and we had a fullback, Connor was in there, who should have helped Darnell on that play, but I'm getting mad thinking about it all over again. So let me continue with the rest of this trench report. Troy Fontana balled out. Move on over to Mason McCormick, who's just been consistently good and getting better and great. Some of the double teams that they had, got to give Arthur Smith a lot of credit for calling consistent batch of running plays to get these guys comfortable. We ran the ball 36 times, Charlie. 36 times. This is the first time I think we've ran the ball that big of a gap more than we passed the ball. 36 runs to 31 passes. I think that's the only time we've been over 50% runs in a game this year. I got to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And the double teams and the single blocks and the zone blocks by Mason and Zach were just amazing. I think we have or at least our right side for the foreseeable future. That right side is going to be the right side, starting with the center, Mason and Troy. They're going to be there for at least the next 5 to 7 years if we're hopefully health willing. And so Troy balled, Mason balled, Zach, Mr. Consistency himself, balled out once again, 95%, keeps on being a consistent just force for us at the center. He gives us comfortability. He gives us trust. We know what we're getting with Zach each and every week. And he's just tenacious. I love the way he plays this game, and he is the best person to man that position. Very excited about where he's going. Isaac, he's the best player. He's going to be in the Pro Bowl this year. If he doesn't get voted to the Pro Bowl, I'm going to be upset because he's having a fantastic year. He is not only doing his job, he is doing such a good job of having Broderick's back or just being there as a presence so that Broderick has more confidence. And you can see the confidence building up each and every week with that left side. Now, Isaac, he's been in the game for a while. That's why I didn't include him with the other young guys. Hopefully he stays healthy and plays with us for the next 5 to 7 years too. But I know he's already been in this league for a while now. So he's not quite with the youth movement, but I'm glad we have him. He is balling. And Broderick Jones, this man has been getting all the flack all year long. And these last 2 games have been his best 2 games. This last one was his best one. He played about 40 snaps before he ended up getting hurt and having to leave the game. But how he's coming up the ball, how he's double teaming guys, he is throwing his hands, Charlie. You know, that was my biggest bugaboo, him not throwing his hands. He's using some of the vet moves that I told you about Troy when the defensive lineman is coming to brace and he's knocking hands down and the D lineman's falling straight to the ground. Roderick is finally using that. So you can tell he's getting more comfortable because what I say, old lineman got moves too, Charlie, right? It's not just D lineman with the spin moves and stuff. Old linemen have moves too. And so when you see a tackle out there utilizing his moves, that means he's getting more confident that he can do it and execute it without being nervous and not doing just the standard 1, 2, 3 kick punch. You know, he is actually going out there and diversifying his pass sets, and it's giving the defender a problem. And he's hopefully, like I said, this neck injury is minor and he comes back strong, but I'm very excited about this O-line. 186 yards rushing, no sacks given up, and no hits barely given up. Hardly any pressure for Mason to deal with that entire game. Very proud of these boys.
No, I like it. That's a fair assessment as far as what the film looks like as you kind of move through that. I think the thing that gets me excited about it was the fact that they did it on the road, knowing that crowd noise was going to be a factor. Mm-hmm. Now, as you enter into Acrisure Stadium and you have that home game, can they keep the momentum up? And I think now the question is, which I have for you, is do you think this offensive line can keep that mentality going whenever you're now missing Broderick Jones and now whoever may be in at that left tackle? Do you think they can sustain what they did in Chicago and be able to build upon it?
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Calvin Anderson too, who hasn't played all year long. He missed all the preseason, right? After like maybe the first week or first week or 10 days, he didn't play at all during the preseason. Right. And this was his first action. He had to come in and play left tackle in the NFL on the road versus a very good defensive line in the Chicago Bears. And he did well. Now, I think if he's called upon to do it again, which I think he will be, seeing that he was the first one up and it wasn't Andres Pete, he will be the first guy to get the left tackle snaps in Broderick's place this week. And he'll have a whole week to play next to Isaac. And I think with the comfortability that Isaac has and what he's had to do for Broderick already, I think Calvin's going to have an easier job this week than maybe somebody who didn't have the services of Isaac Seumalo next to him. Now, they have their toughest test in a while this week versus the Buffalo Bills. This D-line gets after it. They got some bona fide ballers on the end and inside. Ed Oliver. They have Bob Miller's in there. Bob Miller's in Washington now, right? If I'm not mistaken. AJ Espinoza. They have some legit pass rushers, so they are going to come after this O-line. So this will be their biggest test. I'm upset that Broderick's going to miss this because I'm getting really excited about where he is and where he's going. But get better. Young man. Oh, yeah, Greg Rousseau. Thanks, Pat. Greg Rousseau is their other defensive end. So, yeah, they definitely have some talent, and the offensive line has their work cut out for them this week. But I'm excited. They're moving in the right direction, and I hope we give these guys the confidence to say, okay, we ran the ball 36 times for 186 yards on the road versus a very good defense in the Chicago Bears. Let's keep on doing it, Arthur Smith. Let's keep on pounding these inside runs. They ran 23 and 22 double. I don't know what they call it. They ran it 23, 22 double 7 or 8 times, and that was our bread and butter. And it sets up so much in a play action game where you can pound it inside and zone runs like they were doing. Let's do the same thing versus Buffalo. Give these guys confidence because this is going to be a good team, but I think they can handle it. I truly do.
Now, what did this do to a jumbo package? Well, a couple of weeks ago, when we did have an injury that was there, they were shifting offensive line in there. What does that do to this personnel group? Now that you know that Broderick is out, what does it do to this group here in this week's game?
It shouldn't affect it at all, actually. With Spencer being the guy that's our extra tight end, our extra lineman, this doesn't affect his job at all. So I still think they will employ the jumbo package. We did it quite a bit versus Chicago to great success, especially in the run game. And that little screen pass to Kenneth Gainwell, that should have worked the second time. You know which one I'm talking about, where they motion Spencer out, and it's like a little lead screen. First time went big. Second time, we came up short, but I was because Gainwell tripped, right? If I'm not mistaken, as
correct.
He was trying to get the first down. And I was more so like we would have had it if he had kept his feet. So Spencer should still be able to do his job. And I think that jumbo package is going to be huge versus the Buffalo Bills this week. So
cool.
Yeah. So speaking of, we got some more stuff happening in NFL. Shedeur Sanders played this week, man. And it just the whole NFL blew up because of that. So we'll get to that and more happenings in the NFL after this break. That segment was also brought to you by Smart Choice Bass. It's the perfect time to remodel your bathroom. Right now, Smart Choice Bass is giving you $1,250 off your bathroom projects, plus a free luxury upgrade to add comfort and style. And just for Big Play listeners, you'll save an additional 10% on your project. So don't wait. Visit them at smartchoicebass.com or give them a call at 844-GET-SMART to schedule your free consultation today. Smart Choice Bass, where luxury meets affordability. It's Thanksgiving week, man. The greatest thing about Thanksgiving outside the food is the fact that we got some games to look forward to on Thursday. More than the normal one we get. We get 3 really good ones. But before we get into that schedule, let's talk about what happened in the NFL this past week. Outside of the Steelers, there were some interesting things, some interesting transgressions that happened. First of all, the Ravens have tied us now, man. That's annoying. They're 6-5 now. I think everybody saw the writing on the wall. No one thought that they were going to be as bad as they started the season out. And they proved it to everybody's point. They are on, a 5-game winning streak. They just got done with the Jets. They will be playing on Thursday. That's my dog over here scratching the carpet. Teddy, get out of here.
Hey, man, he's trying to make a cameo in the video, man.
He is. I see you. Go ahead, Teddy.
He's already laying down. He's like, I'm good, Dad. I'm behind you.
5 seconds of fame, man. Go ahead. But yeah, the Ravens beat up on the Jets. They're 5-0 versus teams that are under 500. So they just hit a very fortunate part of their schedule. They play another team this Thursday in the Bengals that are under 500 but get Joe Burrow back. So where do you see that game ending up? Do you think the Bengals would do us a favor and give us a little bit of reprieve and slow this Ravens train down a little bit?
You would like to think so. I mean, Bengals, they typically play the Ravens tough. I just don't know how fast Joe Burrow will be able to get out the gate with the time that he's missed up until this point. I think he gets better as the game goes on. I just don't know how that looks. And I think ultimately, the Ravens wear that Bengals defense down because they are so bad that they're going to control that time of possession and run the football that I just don't think that the Bengals do us a favor this week. I don't.
Speaking of the Bengals, someone apologized today. Did you see Jamar Chase on Instagram basically admitting that he spit, apologizing, coming back humble, apologizing to, he didn't call out, he didn't say Ramsey specifically. He just said to the Steelers organization, that is not me. I apologize, and I should have owned up to it. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I give him credit for coming back and apologizing eventually. He doesn't get full credit. No, he gets like half credit. Like, I guess I give him a C- on his apology versus just owning up and giving accountability right away. Everyone likes a liar, but I do give him a little bit of credit for coming out and eventually and apologizing. He really had no choice. It was, the video evidence was there. There was no way to deny it, but he could have just let it play out and not say anything. Give him credit for eventually owning up to it.
I don't even give him half credit, because man to man, you look back, it's less than that. I like the thought as it relates to the direction of where he was attempting to go. I would just like to say, regardless of the bad blood that you have with somebody, listen, man, respectfully, I apologize. Now, I don't know if he tried to reach out to him behind the scenes. Maybe, so I don't know what that looks like. But ultimately, when you step in front of the camera, it wasn't the Steelers organization that did it. It was one person in specific that you're talking about when you now are issuing an apology. Man to man, I would just like to say, you want to know what? Hey, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of different things, but man to man, I apologize for spitting on you. Now, if there's other bad blood that happens, that's between them. But ultimately, if you're now going to make it whole, just at least mention the man's name in your comments.
Actually, I kind of take your side of it. You said it better than I did. He gets less than half credit. He gets a quarter credit now for not saying his name specifically. And you're right. You spit on another man and you get caught and you lie about it. Call the man name out personally. Like he might have called him or sent him a text or whatever, but you're right. You do have to address it head on. He didn't do that. He kind of took the easier way out, but it's over. Spilled milk. Moving on. Other news in our AFC North division, Shedeur Sanders started and Shedeur Sanders won. How do you think he played? And do you think that he looks like a quarterback, right? He looks the part, more so than I think Dylan Gabriel does. Gabriel is small. Shedeur seems actually bigger now than he did when he was in Colorado. So I got to give him credit because he looks like he's been in the weight room and he looks like he can handle the trials and tribulations of taking hits in the NFL. So what is your assessment? Do you think he performed, and do you expect bigger and better things for Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, I expect it to get bigger and better for sure. But the one thing I applaud him on, and I'm very impressed with this, because people don't realize how difficult it is, number one, to be a backup, but number two, be the third teamer, because you're not even getting reps. So you know your assignment, but now you are 100% the other team's quarterback. So you have to work on those little things, footwork drills on your own, going back and watch film, because when you're the third team quarterback, you don't go out there and watch the defensive film and look to see how your drops looked and all those type of things, because again, you're emulating the other team's quarterback and their offense that they're running. So I applaud him for being ready, being up to the challenge, and stepping in on a moving train in week 11 when everybody else has played for 2.5 months, that you now have to step in and go out there and lead the football team. That's a very tough job. I applaud Shedeur on that, man. And I look forward to meeting him one day, because I have not met him up until this point. But to see where he is, because I'm a huge fan of his, and to see what he did going to that game and win a game. And when you see the reaction of Myles Garrett when he threw that pass, rolling out to the right, and that deep corner route that he threw, completing the pass, and all you see is Myles just like, whoa, like that's what I'm talking about. These are the throws that they needed. I applaud him for that, man. Kudos for him for doing his job, knowing his assignment, and quieting the naysayers for a week, because we know what the narrative would have been if they did not win this game.
Yeah, man, we could have used a throw like that this past Sunday, right? We could have used that ball. Was it to Isaiah Bond, I think? 53-yarder, rope, rolling out to your right. Impressive throw. He's such a polarizing character, not all due to him. A lot of it comes from his daddy and how Prime has made himself a brand just for being who he is and being confidently and unapologetically himself. And so that's what Shedeur is. He's taking it. He's going to get his flag more than most fifth-round quarterbacks. But the way to shut him up, go out there and win, go out there and perform, and he's going to do that. Hope he doesn't do it against us, obviously, but I do wish the kid success.
Right. And that's the part that scares me, because that means now in about 3 more weeks, we got to play this guy with experience.
Right.
So he's going to continue to gain a confidence, but yet when you put a 4-game type of film together now allow the coordinators to, essentially game plan against you as you're preparing for that game. But the one thing, you kind of go back and forth. It's just difficult, very difficult. But as a quarterback, you have to teeter on that line of confident and arrogant. And he walks that line, and people will lean on the fact of arrogant where they don't want to root for the guy. When you play the position, you have to be right on that line, but not be overconfident, but also not as arrogant. And again, that's just the nature of playing the quarterback position, because regardless of what happens, the quarterback is going to get blamed. Yeah. That's just what it is. I don't care if the play comes in late. Guess what? I'm at the line of scrimmage with no timeouts. They blame the quarterback for the delay of game. Nobody cares about the coach getting the play in long, late. That's just what it is. And ultimately, that happens at the QB position. And you learn from it. Just continue to block the noise. Continue to go out there and do your job, young fella, because you have a lot of people. Even though you think that people aren't with you, there's a lot of people who are for you because they want to see you succeed, and I'm one of them.
You're right. They don't say delay of game offense, Coach Tomlin. No, they say delay of game offense, number 16, right? They don't blame. The QB gets all the blame. Believe me, as an offensive lineman, I understand taking all the blame. We don't get as much praise as y'all, but we definitely get the blame oftentimes. But kudos to Shedeur. Hopefully he plays well and he quiets these naysayers. But like I mentioned before at the beginning of this, we need to talk about some NFL football happening on Thursday. We got 3 games, and I'm going to ask you to give me a little parlay of those 3 games on who's going to win and who's going to lose after this break for our big play bets. It's NBA tip-off weekend. FanDuel is your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, CB. You played in Detroit on a couple of Thanksgiving games. First, just tell me, how special is it to play? And just for the Lions, for your career in the Lions, y'all were a staple of Thanksgiving football games. Every Thanksgiving, the Lions and the Cowboys play. I don't know how that came about, but is it something that you look forward to? Or were you annoyed by the fact that you had to play on Thanksgiving every year?
Yeah, well, I was a young guy, so I was like, oh, this is just how it goes. But you did have veteran guys that were a little upset because Sunday to Thursday games are very tough to transition the older you get to be ready for that game on Thursday. But yet I got excited because my very first game was against the Steelers in 1998, and that was the Jerome Bettis coin flip game. And that was the last time that you actually can call a coin flip in the air, and that happened on Thanksgiving. But when that was part of history, and people didn't realize that.
It changed the game.
It changed the game.
Wow.
And when that happened, when you're on there, for me to now be playing against the Steelers, knowing that family and friends was going to be at the game, watching at home, and really the rest of the country is watching. I looked at it like, hey, they're here to watch me. But realistically, I knew they were there to watch Barry Sanders. That's just what it was. And so you get it, but you want to put on a performance in that particular manner that really shows the rest of the country that you can go out there and play. And when you're the only one playing at noon, 12:30-ish, you know everybody watching on this holiday because everybody's off of work. So it's exciting to be a part of.
Did you ever talk to JB about that moment? And what were the conversations that you guys had? Did you feel sorry that JB kind of got screwed on that? Or did you be like, say it with your chest next time, JB, and then maybe we wouldn't have this issue? Maybe we'd still be throwing the coin up in the air if you just would have said it a little bit louder.
Yeah, he's animate that he said heads. And we've had the conversation. He was my locker mate for years. I think we've sat next to each other for 5 years. So you knew, he's stuck on that. And I'm just like, man, come on, JB, it's been 24 years, man. You can tell us. Because when I'm watching the TV, the closed caption says heads, and then it starts to say tails. So which one is it? Is closed caption line? Can't have it both. So hey, he's sticking with this. It's been a 20, close. It's been 24 years, man. He's going to stick. No, it's been longer than that, to be honest with you. But I think ultimately he's going to stick with that, and we just have to go with his word because we don't know. We don't know JB as being a liar, and I'm not going to sit here and claim him out to be one.
The man
But
said heads, he meant heads, huh?
Correct, absolutely.
All right, yeah, it was 27 years to be exact. I know you don't like to say them type of numbers out loud, CB, but
Yeah, and 27 years, man. Come on, man. A long time ago, man. That just lets you know how long I've been affiliated with this league, which I don't take it for granted. That's for sure. I'm truly grateful of being around the National Football League for 27 years.
You were part of history on multiple fronts, but that actually changed the course of not just the NFL, but I think everybody has adopted the new way of saying heads or tails. It wasn't just the NFL that changed. So yes, it makes it a little bit easier though. Just say that that's the reason why we call the coin toss the way we do. It's all because of that game in 1998. But as we look at the slate of games this week, we got 3 games that all have some sort of playoff implications right now, right? Packers and Lions. Basically, Lions are on the outside looking in. They're kind of like us after the success they had last year. Now the Packers and the Bears are at number 1 and 2 in that division, and Lions are the outside looking in. So they have the Packers and Lions to start off Thanksgiving. And then Chiefs at Cowboys, which probably is going to be the most watched game in Thanksgiving history, just knowing the way the Cowboys put on the show. And it's a very intriguing game when you got Dak Prescott going against Patrick Mahomes. And then with the Chiefs also being on the outside looking in, they're like us as well. They're not performing to their standards and what they're used to. So that game is going to be interesting. And then finally, Bengals at Ravens. We already talked about this, alluded to this. Joe Burrow scheduled to come back and play this game. Ravens are on a hot streak right now. We need the Ravens to lose to give us a little bit more space, a little bit more breathing room, because right now we're number 2 in our division. We'll be looking at this game with some intrigue. I'm going to ask you right now for a parlay on I don't even want you to pick the spread. I just want you to pick the winner in each game as CB sees fit. Starting with the Packers and Lions, who wins that game?
Yeah, I'm going with the Lions at home. They are very tough to play. That team is explosive. I think they're going to, dominate, especially in the division game, which they lost earlier this year. So I think they're going to turn around and respond. Detroit gets the win in the first game. When we look at the second game, Dallas and the Chiefs, I think it's going to be an entertaining game for sure. I think Dallas, the way that they got down and they used all of their energy to come back in that fourth quarter, I think they run out of gas. And I think the Chiefs go down and so shock the Cowboys and bring them back to reality as it relates to who they truly are. And they're not a playoff team. So I think the Chiefs handle their business. And in that third game, I think the Ravens completely dominate the Bengals because how terrible that defense is. And I think this is going to be a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and they're going to control it. And I think they win convincingly as the Thursday evening game happens.
CB has the Lions in the 12:30 game or the 12 o'clock game, the Chiefs in the 4 o'clock game, and then the Ravens in the night game. Correct?
Correct. Yes.
Did I say that right? All right.
Yes, you do.
Lock them in. Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Thursday night football. And then lastly, because we will not have our preview show this week, because it is the holidays and it is Black Friday, and Daddy got to do a lot of Christmas shopping. I don't know about you, Charlie, but I got to get out there and take advantage of these deals while they're happening on Black Friday. But because we don't have a preview show this Friday, I want to take the opportunity right now, the over-under in the Steelers-Bills game, playing it at Acrisure Stadium, is right now 47.5 points. Do you have the over or do you have the under?
I'm going over. I think this game will be a high-scoring game between these two teams. So I have faith in whoever the quarterback is going to be for the Steelers to put up points in a must-win game at Acrisure Stadium.
We are okay, and the spread, the Steelers are 4.5 underdogs right now as it stands. We are and we mentioned it before, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team. I would not be completely surprised with the performance we played on Sunday for us to come back and flip it all around this Sunday versus a very good Bills team. Some would argue, even though the Chicago has a better record, that the Bills are a better team because they have the MVP on their team in Josh Allen, and he seems to just will this team to victory more times than not. But I would not be surprised if Steelers rebounded this week because that seems what we do. We have a stinker versus the Chargers, and we come back and dominate versus Cincinnati. Have a stinker versus Green Bay, come back and dominate the Colts. So hopefully that trend stays and that we come back. But that's a long-winded way of saying, who do you have covering the 4.5 points that the Steelers are an underdog?
I have the Bills covering.
Oof.
Bills covering.
Oof. It's tough. I said all that to say that give the Steelers some hype, and he's like, nah.
I'm just saying they cover. I'm not saying that the Steelers don't win. I just say they cover.
Okay. I mean, we might win. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And as we get through this, is making sure, okay, you know, and I give my prediction. Yeah, absolutely. That's all I'm saying right now. As we talk right now, I'm just saying the Bills will cover.
And we will get your full prediction on at 11 o'clock on Sunday on what?
KDK TV.
KDKA. All right. We'll see you on Sunday. And rest of Steeler Nation, we will see you next Monday. No preview show this week. Again, subscribe to us on Big Play Pittsburgh on YouTube. Also, Instagram, and find us at the Snap Count Show on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. I'm Trey Day 79. That's Charlie Back 16. That's my quarterback. I'll see you next Monday, man. Here we go.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.